I'm Dylan Paris. This is Ultra Choice, and today I want to talk a bit about my essential iPad Pro accessories. Now, the iPad Pro I have is the 2018 11-inch iPad Pro, which means it has one port, and that port is a USB-C port. There are some pros and cons for this iPad. The biggest con is the lack of a headphone jack. As a music producer, not having a headphone jack really sucks. You know, I've talked about it before, I'll probably talk about it again in the future. It was a really stupid choice, and honestly, the bravest thing Apple could do is put the headphone jack back in all future Pro iPads. With that aside, over the course of the last year, I've built up a pretty good collection of different accessories for the iPad Pro. They address different use cases, and specifically, I'm someone who uses the iPad as a creative tool for music and art and video production, as well as a consumption device for video games, listening to music and podcasts, watching YouTube, all kinds of stuff. So it's my primary computing device. I bring it with me everywhere. And in no particular order, here are the accessories I use with my iPad and the ones you should really keep an eye on if you're interested in using your iPad for everything it can be. Hopefully, when I go through these accessories, you'll see which ones might be great fits for you and maybe which ones you don't need at all. So let's start. Okay, the first one I'm going to talk about is one that solves a lot of port issues on the iPad Pro. That is the Zomoi USB C Adapter. So yeah, this is the Zomoi and a USB-C to C cable that I use to plug directly into my iPad. It is a pretty decent accessory. On paper, it would be the perfect iPad adapter, as it has a 3.5mm headphone jack, two USB-C ports, one to connect, one to charge or work as another USB-C port, two USB 3.0 ports, one USB 2.0 port, an HDMI, I don't believe 2.0, just HDMI 1.4 probably, and Ethernet. It's stacked. Oh yeah, and normal and micro SD cards. So the thing about this adapter is that you can tell it's cheap and it wasn't made for the iPad. The way these things creep up are not deal breakers, but they absolutely are worth noting. For one, I've had a couple of issues where if this thing is running to the iPad and then also has power going to it, data connections on the USB ports just don't work. So suddenly I'm unable to use any kind of data transfer or pull data off of an SD card, for example. It breaks it. When listening to audio through the 3.5mm jack, I've noticed it's just extremely amplified. And by that I mean all of my headphones, I really can't go higher than one or two volume notches from zero on the iPad before it's like dangerously high volume, which kind of sucks because then you don't have a lot of room for variance. Most things are too loud or too quiet. So clearly not a device made for the iPad. In an ideal world, Apple would have made something like this themselves. The HyperDrive accessory that was originally a $50 Kickstarter and I see float around for like $100 now is something I definitely wish I'd backed, but could be a good alternative to this if someone can verify that all the ports work when you're charging and that the headphone jack is less amplified. But I can't verify that because I don't own it. But yeah, that's the Zomoi USB-C. It's like $50 or something. Okay, so if you don't want to spring for something like the Zomoi or the HyperDrive, but you do want to do music production, you're gonna need one of these. So this is a USB-C to 3.5mm headphone jack cable. It's not included in the box because, you know, why would it be? Apple needs that $9. When I first got the iPad Pro, I bought 3 of these. I have one in my backpack, one in my work desk, and another one in my home desk. That way I always have a headphone jack if I need it. You know what would have solved this problem, Apple, is just putting a headphone jack in the friggin' iPad. Anyway, they're fine. They exist. They're worth having a couple of, but they obviously take the entire port, so all you get is audio in. So if you're not producing with a touchscreen and you want to use a USB accessory, you're SOL if you're trying to also use this. The next accessory I want to talk about is the Apple Pencil 2. The Apple Pencil 2 is my most used accessory for the iPad Pro. I use it when editing videos in LumaFusion. I do a lot of sketching in Procreate. I've been learning Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. Designer for some vector illustration work, and Photo for doing my thumbnails for YouTube. I've been really enjoying this stylus. I got it the day I got the iPad Pro, and I absolutely use it all the time. As you very likely know, it charges on the side of the iPad itself, and the case I have that I'll show in a bit, and I've done a full review for before, allows you to attach this, although I actually keep it in a separate pocket unless I'm actively using it, and then I just charge it quickly when I need it. It's a fantastic art tool. It's a fantastic precise input tool for video editing, and I highly recommend it. This is the Greenlaw keyboard case. I've done a full video review of this, so I'll link that below. But yeah, my iPad is in this case 80% of the time. It basically gives you full 180-degree tilting as a laptop screen. It can rotate to give you really nice angles for viewing content. And yeah, overall, I think it's great. It's something like 50 bucks. I'm really surprised more YouTubers haven't talked about it. Don't waste your money on a Bridge. Don't waste your money on Logitech or Apple's keyboards. Seriously, if you want a keyboard, this one's your dude. It's got RGB on it, which is fun. There you go. You got different brightness levels, which is cool. Media playback controls, all that good stuff. As I noted, the Apple Pencil fits on top. And yeah, it's a great case. A little bit of a pain to get the iPad out of it, but it's really not so bad once you figure it out. Just apply some pressure on the top of these lips and it'll come right out. Another accessory I really like that's finally been working for me is the Samsung T5 portable USB-C SSD. Now, this thing is a 500 gig storage drive, and once I formatted it on my desktop in exFAT and used the standard allocation, this thing finally was able to work with the iPad. And it's been fantastic for transferring assets between my desktop, which does have a USB-C port on the motherboard, and my iPad. Fast, small, sturdy storage. You gotta love it. 2019. Okay, this one's a little more recreational. This is the Series Stratus. It is a very tiny MFI controller. The Series Stratus and any MFI controller was very, very useful and almost essential until this year when iPadOS enabled using Xbox One S or X Bluetooth controllers and DualShock 4 controllers from the PlayStation. I still carry this dude everywhere. I got it on eBay for like 20 bucks. They were 80 when they came out, which is ridiculous, but for 20 bucks, it's pretty decent. This little controller gives me the ability to play console-style games on the iPad or just stream games from my PlayStation 4 or my PC, which is awesome. So yeah, it's nice. And it is really small. Here it is next to my head. Here's a DualShock 4 next to my head, and here they are next to each other. If you already have a DualShock 4, just use that. It's awesome. It's really nice, it's pretty easy to pair, and it's great for playing remote play PS4 games or a lot of different games that now support the PS4 controller, including a lot of Apple Arcade games. Worth it. This next accessory is a little controversial because it's now reduced in its functionality. This is the Korg NanoKey Studio. I really like this thing. It is, however, limited in what it can do compared to what it used to be able to do. So it's a Bluetooth keyboard. It uses Bluetooth low energy to send MIDI data over a Bluetooth signal to your device. This used to work with iPads, apparently. I bought it after I installed the iPadOS beta on my iPad Pro. So for me, it's always been a wired keyboard. Now, it's still been worth it for me. It's created by Korg to work with their Korg Gadget software. Think of it as like a baby version of the Ableton Push and Ableton. Now it can control other software, which is really great. And it has velocity sensitive weird button keys and drum pads and knobs, which I believe are true knobs and not encoders. I forget what the difference is, so don't hold me to that. And it has a little Chaos pad, an XY pad, which I love. It has built-in scales, which is really cool if you don't know all the scales off the top of your head, including the ability to map chords to these buttons, which is really cool. Using it with Korg Gadget creates the most professional feeling music app experience I've had on the iPad, and it's now my preferred mobile DAW. That being said, Korg promises wireless functionality that simply isn't there in November of 2019. Hopefully they bring it back. I don't know what caused the issue, but yeah, it's worth noting if you want to use this wirelessly, do not expect to be able to use it with the newest iPadOS on the newest iPads. If you're comfortable using a dongle and living that dongle life, it's a really cool piece of kit, and I'll probably do my own review on it as I've done some videos with it, and I feel pretty comfortable with it. Okay, my last set of accessories are pretty much essential because there's no headphone jack. I'm going to start with the lesser of the two. These are SoundPete's true wireless Bluetooth headphones. I got them on Amazon for like $32. I do someday want to get AirPods Pro, but I'm trying to rein in my spending and be a little more responsible, so I have these guys for now. They are fine. I've thought about doing a video review for them, and I might do a separate one. They're okay. They're $32. They provide true wireless sound for $32. Only one of them allows you to pair it independently, which is the right one. The left one requires that the right one is also powered on. So they are not like AirPods or maybe some of the others where you can choose which one if you only want one. Not a deal breaker, just a reality. They charge with micro USB. Overall, the sound quality is fine. It's definitely better than earpods and probably AirPods in some ways. Because it creates an actual passive noise seal, you will have better sound isolation, but they aren't amazing. Don't go in expecting top of the line. They're $32. Do you have $32? Cool. Do you want wireless earbuds? Cool. These dudes, SoundPete's. I'm not going to link them. I'm not linking any of this. Amazon took away my affiliate account, so I'm not going to give them money. Cool. The last accessory I'll talk about is a much better Bluetooth option. There is no headphone jack, so having a really nice pair of Bluetooth headphones does make it feel like a much more complete package. And like pretty much everyone else on YouTube, I'm going to recommend the Sony 1000X M3s. I got these on a very bummery day in April, and they changed my life. They are fantastic. The noise isolation is awesome. The sound quality is awesome. The build and the fit and finish are awesome. I am not necessarily an audiophile because I'm someone who actually enjoyed the sound of earpods. So, I don't know. Keep that in mind when I say this. These are the best sounding headphones I've ever used. I really can't say enough good stuff about them. They're not waterproof, so that's a bummer. They get really warm if you walk around with them on. So in the summer they were kind of miserable, but now that it's cold out again, they're pretty great. They can pair with NFC, which I had never remembered to do. They've got touch controls on the side here, up and down for volume, left and right, for music play back forward and rewind, double tap for pause. I especially like the left and right for skipping ads in podcasts, which you shouldn't do. Support your favorite podcasts. But if you've heard the same ad, because they keep inserting the same exact ad in the podcast, and you're like, okay, I get it, Neeli, please play some other ad, then you can skip it. Shout out to the Vergecast. But also listen to the ads if you want to. Anyway, these things have incredible battery life. They charge via USB-C, which is the same cable that charges my phone and my iPad until I switch to an iPhone 11 Pro Max next year, which I'm planning on doing. These things are amazing. I highly recommend them for basically any purpose, but especially as an iPad accessory. Pro tip, they're not studio monitors, but if you want to produce on the go with them, turn them on first to allow the noise cancellation to kick in, then plug in the 3.5mm to 3.5mm cable into the bottom, and then plug that into your adapter into the iPad. If you do that, you keep the noise isolation and the good sound quality that you get when you push the rest of the noise out and are just hearing the sound from the headphones. I don't know how they do it because you would think you would lose a bunch of signal, but they honestly sound better with noise isolation on. You get that if you turn them on, plug in the headphones on this end, plug them into the adapter end, and then do whatever you're doing. If you just plug them in, I do believe they produce sound, but it does not sound as good, and if you're on public transit, for example, you're not going to get the isolation that you might want. So yeah, those are my most used iPad Pro accessories. If you have anything you're using with your iPad that I didn't cover, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always interested in hearing the different ways people are using the iPad and the different accessories they use to make it a better device. It's been a really cool first year with this device. It is my most used piece of tech and the one I have the most love and frustrations with, but overall, I really like it and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. Should Apple have put a headphone jack on it? Absolutely. Does it make it a deal breaker that there's no headphone jack? No, especially with these accessories. If you want to help support my channel, right now I'm below 1,000 subscribers, which means I can't run ads. Amazon won't let me use affiliates because I don't have enough subscribers. So the best thing to do is just like and subscribe. And if you really enjoy the content, maybe tell someone about it. I'm Dylan, this is Ultra Choice. Thanks for your time. Catch you later.
itty bitty 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 bitty